Why do so many women try to test their men constantly?
It's an evolutionary thing. It's an evolutionary thing because here's the reality. We are designed to have children with men, and childbirth is potentially fatal. We die from childbirth if we were left in, our natural habitat. So to put that risk onto a relationship, he better be able to endure all types of storms.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to test them. So we have to, unfortunately, test them. We have to test, are they going to be faithful? Are they going to be financially stable? Are they going to be able to have their own boundaries? We push. Now, the problem is, unfortunately for men, is when we push you and you succumb to us, you automatically lose us. What we're saying when we're pushing you is really make sure you don't give in to this, because if you do, then I know you're not strong enough.
Oh my God, give me an example. What's a common example?
It might be something like I push a man to say, I'm going to come home when I want. I'm going to come home and do what I want with the girls, wherever. I'm going to come on girls' trips. I'm going to do whatever I want. Push you. And then when you actually give in and say, okay, essentially she feels like she's not being protected. So she feels like nobody's governing her.
You don't have a spine.
You're not responding. You're not responsible. Or she might say, I'm talking to my ex-boyfriend, and you say, I don't feel comfortable with that. She'll be like, no, you have to. I have to. Fine, he accepts it. Essentially, she's saying that you don't mind cuckoldry. You don't mind if I have an affair. Bye. So essentially, what we're begging for sometimes is the boundary, not the kind of. We're not looking for you to bow down.
Wow.
So hard for men to figure that out.
Right.
I feel so bad for men.
Funny.
It's like reverse psychology all the time, unfortunately.
Outside of people who are divorced and are responsible for communicating with their exes to co-parent.
To co-parent, yeah.
What's the number one thing that makes women feel unsafe from the man they're with?
I would say that showing a complete disregard for her emotional well-being. And that doesn't have to be sleeping. It doesn't have to go that far to sleeping with other women. It might be as simple as not replying to her messages, or, behaving online, like liking it. I know it sounds so bizarre, but you'll be so surprised at how unsafe a woman can feel simply by watching whose pictures he's liking and commenting and saving. It's such a simple thing from a man. But from a woman's perspective, it almost ignites her fight or flight response. Is that weird to a man? Does it more for insecure women?
I think to a conscious man, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That you're like, okay, would I like her doing this? Maybe you wouldn't, but maybe it wouldn't matter. Like, for me, it doesn't really matter what she does. To be honest,
because you've established that trust.
Yeah, and if we haven't created an agreement on something, then she's gonna do what she wants to do, and then I would just acknowledge and say, hey, I don't really like this. Can we make an agreement on this?
Yeah.
And we'll figure out what that is. And then cool, we've created a new dynamic, right? But I also just feel confident with who I am.
Yeah.
And so if she's off doing something, which she never has, and I don't think she would ever do it, but if she's off doing something, and I would find out it eventually, and I'd say, okay, well, that's unfortunate, but I guess this isn't the right fit, or we need to figure out how to mend this.
Yeah.
Or I'll be okay. If you want to go live this life, that's fine.
It's
just not going to be with me. It's like, all right, it's sad, it's unfortunate,
that's a healthy way to see it, because a lot of people think addiction is a testament to how much you love someone. The fact that you can't let them go must mean you really love them. But actually it means that you haven't established healthy boundaries and you don't have any self-esteem.
But there's also probably like certain things that Martha may want to do that I wouldn't do myself. And maybe it's not like the highest value that I would have, or with my time or my energy or whatever, but it's who she is. It's unique to her. So I'm going to accept her for who she is. And I've chosen to accept her. That's why when I got committed to her, right before we committed, I said, listen, is there anything else I need to know about you? Because I felt like I asked her as much as I could in a few months period, right? And I got to meet her family and travel and do all these things you get to experience together that could cause upset or different things come out. So I felt like I got to know at least a good amount in a short period of time. I said to her, as long as this is who you are and who you're going to continue to be, there's nothing that upsets me.
Oh, there's no deal breakers.
Well, I was just like, I'm going to accept who you are. Where there's some men that are like, okay, you were a model or whatever. You did something and now I don't want you to do that anymore. Yeah. Now that we're together, you can't do this thing anymore. Yeah. Like Martha's an actress. Mm-hmm. So she's done, 40 different movies. Yeah. She's kissed men in movies. Yeah. She's done the different intimate scenes. Yeah. I know that. Yeah. And therefore, I had to ask myself, do I accept this if she continues being who she is?
Yeah, exactly.
And I had to say, okay, I'm okay with that. As opposed to, you can't do this anymore. You have to change to fit into my world.
But that's the difference between insecure and boundaries. Because here's the thing: a lot of men, they'll say, "No, I'm not being insecure. I'm just setting boundaries." But you are being insecure, because here's the difference between insecure and boundaries. It's a secure man will see what you have to offer, like read the menu, and decide if he will stay or leave.
Exactly.
An insecure man will say, you need to do this, you need to do this, rather than just saying, you are who you are, I'm going to have to leave.
You're not right for me.
You're not right for me.
Why do we try to change people from who they are to fit our world?
Because we're too insecure to walk away.
Wow.
Yeah? When we develop the willingness to walk away, we actually love people for who they are. You know what? You're always out in the club all day, every day. You actually like that you're really lively and extrovert, but it doesn't work for me. But when I'm insecure, it's like, please be something else, because I can't walk away from this. I can't find anybody else. So I'm always holding them by the throat, begging them to be a better person, because I don't have the strength to know when to walk away.
Wow.
So that's when we force
I've been
people.
both of those in the past.
I've been, yeah. And it's so much nicer when you can become the person that just says, it's okay, you be you.
We don't need to be together.
It's okay. And there's other humans in the world.
Exactly.
So you can keep it moving. And that's what the boundary is between secure and insecure, man or woman.
When women think that a man will change in the future, like, he's got so much potential, he's so great here and here, and I love his family so much, they've welcomed me in. But there's these 2 or 3 things that maybe one day he'll change.
Yeah.
What typically happens in that relationship?
They've fallen in love with their imagination. And when reality strikes, and unfortunately reality strikes, at some point reality strikes when we fall in love with our imagination, which we're very capable of doing, particularly if we've been traumatized. One thing with traumatized people is that their imagination and reality can get blurred. When we fall in love with our imagination, unfortunately, life will keep testing you, and reality testing will keep occurring until you're forced to face the person they truly are. And it's usually kids or 10 years later or something like that. And then they'll say, they'll act like these, I didn't know he was like this. He came out of nowhere. How can he's like this? But really, they showed you who they were from day one. They always showed you. You fell in love with your imagination, and now you're angry that your imagination is not reality-based. So unfortunately, it doesn't end well. It's better to just accept the person for who they are, flaws and all, than to live in the illusion that they're going to change.
Before you marry and get committed at that level.
Absolutely.